Okay, so I was asked a very interesting question by one of the members of the group. I go to 12-step meetings every day, and I was sharing in the group that the vibration of 12-step meetings is a lot lower than doing non-duality or enlightenment work, because it's much more dualistic in its focus. It has a vibration of dualism, which is a lower vibration than enlightenment or oneness or the eternal or the presence. So, for example, in a 12-step group, one would pray to God to remove a resentment against somebody you didn't like. God, I humbly ask you to remove my resentment against X. Please help me treat them with the same patience, tolerance, kindness and love I cheerfully grant a sick friend. So the nature of that is very dualistic. It presupposes that the truth that me is real and that you is real and that I, with the help of God, forgive you. So that's what I call and it's very heavily dualistic, a much lower vibration than non-dual teachers and a lower vibration than the Course in Miracles. So in this group, I'm often talking at the non-dual level, the level of enlightenment, the level of that presence which is beyond identification with thoughts or form or the body. Now, the reason I went to these groups in the beginning was because I faced kidney failure. I was in active addiction. When I was age 30, I had this kidney failure experience. And then it was like, when the doctor said they didn't know what to do to keep me alive, it was like a moment of grace and surrender, and I had a spiritual experience of eternal peace, heavenly bliss. And actually, in that experience, heard a voice say, find a spiritual solution, and that led to my quest. And then eventually, someone gave me a DVD of the teacher, Dr David R Hawkins, and when that DVD was on, I had what I call Kundalini experience, like a tingling up my spine. So I knew he'd be the important teacher. And he shared, like, if you're in addiction, you should go to a 12-step group. And a 12-step group has a strong enough vibration to release addiction. Not a strong enough vibration to take you to enlightenment. Then you would need more powerful teachings, such as A Course in Miracles or an enlightened teacher such as Hawkins to take you through these dualistic concepts which bind you to a lower vibration. So I did have an addiction, or I had addictions, and so I joined the 12 steps. And now the thing with the 12-step groups is they have a higher vibration than most of what goes on in London on a daily basis. Now, unless you happen, for me, they have a higher vibration than a regular church or a regular Buddhist group. So in terms of what's available in London on a daily basis, probably like a pub would probably have quite a low vibration. A rave club would have a very low vibration. A church would have a better vibration. A 12-step group would have an even better vibration. Now, if you had a teacher of enlightenment in London giving satsangs every day, that would be a higher vibration than a 12-step group. But in terms of what's available in London, what is the highest vibration I can be in London, of all the different vibratory situations I can be in? The 12 steps would be a natural for me, having come from an addiction background. And there, after you go through the 12-step process, the 12-step process is a very powerful process. Now, like with any spiritual organization, no one is forced to do the 12-step process. So there can be people there for many years who have not yet gone through the 12-step process and are still sharing their stuff day after day. And there's no coercion, or they're told they have to do it. Everyone is free to come and go or not do the program or do the program as they will. There's no expenses or charges for the program. So it's totally free. So there are a significant proportion, of people who could be there for a while and have not even done the program. So that can happen. But there are many there who have been through the program, have recovered from their addiction, and then help others to go through the 12-step program. You see, and they're more of the lights in the program. Yes?
Sorry, is that the type of group where they say you've got to sponsor someone?
Yes.
Oh, right, okay.
That's right.
I've heard that. Okay.
That's right. So anyone who's been through the 12-step program becomes a sponsor, and anybody who wants to, if I suffered from an addiction and I went there, I'd find a sponsor, he'd take me through the 12 steps, then I'd become a sponsor, and then I can take somebody through the 12 steps. So through this circle of service, the recovery from addiction can be passed on. It's all done free of charge. There's no coercion or control in the groups. Everyone's free to come or go as they wish. So I've been free from my primary addiction for 9 years now, so the program works. Now, the thing for me is it is a very high vibration. It's not the highest vibration. It's not the vibration of an enlightened teacher, but it still is quite a high vibration. The 12-step process, step 1, you admit you're powerless over whatever addiction it is, and then you do a bit of writing on that. Step 2, you get a conception of what is your higher power, if you're an atheist or an agnostic, or if you have strong faith, it can be different. Step 3 is you start this process of surrendering your life and your will over to the care of God as you understand God. Step 4 is sometimes people refer it to a little bit like confession, where everyone writes down all their fears and their resentments and everything from their history, and the sponsor bears witness to that sharing of everything that's happened before. And they contextualize all their past experiences through what's called a moral inventory, where one sees, just like in Christianity, you have the 7 deadly sins by which to filter all of life's experiences. We call them the 4 defects of character, what we prism and then share to our sponsor. Very powerful process. And then 6 and 7, we keep praying to God to remove whatever defects, whatever defects of the ego are still arising in consciousness. 8 and 9 is an amazingly powerful process, which I'm not aware of in any other thing. Extremely powerful, where we list everyone we've harmed in the past, and then with the help of a sponsor, we make the appropriate amends. If you've stolen, you may give back money. If you've hurt someone's feelings, you may apologize, and the sponsor helps to immensely powerful clearing process in consciousness that I haven't really seen anywhere else.
I think the Jews have something. They have a day where they do exactly that. You atone for all your, it's a day. I can't remember what it's called in the Jewish tradition. Yeah.
So that's something that also happens in the 12 steps. It's very powerful. Yeah. Very powerful process.
That, yeah.
And then there is a getting closer connection with God in step 11. Step 10 is like every day looking at your spiritual conduct and filtering it through in a special process. And step 12 is helping others once you've recovered. So it is a powerful process, and has actually saved the lives of millions and millions and millions of people around the world. It's only spread in such enormous numbers and in such a global thing because people at the gates of death and desperation in the pits of addiction have done this process, and it has the power to take them out, from facing hell and death. So a very powerful process. However, It's a beautiful group. It's still not a non-dual group. It's not an enlightenment group. So no one's forced to do the program. Everyone's free to attend. But the benefits are in working the program and sharing the program. Now, why would as a teacher or a non-dual teacher and teaching the Course in Miracles, why would I go to such an environment? Well, for a number of reasons. One is, I believe the vibration, in terms of what's available in London, at a reasonably good vibration on a daily basis, which is easily accessible, I would say that's probably one of the highest vibrations that's regularly available. Of course, if there was an enlightened teacher giving satsang in London every day, I would say that would be a higher vibration. Now, why even bother going to... Well, I think there is aid in going to the highest vibration meeting on a daily basis that's possible. Because every vibration makes it harder to transcend to higher vibrations. If I said I want to be enlightened, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life in a pub, it has a vibrationary surrounding to it. Or if I want to be enlightened every day and I say I'm going to do it in a rave club, I'm going to practice enlightenment in a rave club every day. So the environment has a bearing. And so, if I want to pursue the highest level of vibration, availing myself on a daily basis of the highest vibration I can connect with, for me has a utility. It's easier to get to enlightenment from a place where people are halfway there than to get to enlightenment in a place where people are completely in the darkness. So then the environment becomes supportive in going that extra mile. Now, I know there was a person who's raising the issue, like, if people are ill or sick there, wouldn't you get imprinted with their stuff? And actually, if you transcend what goes on in the meetings, whereby you do enlightenment practice, whereby you make it meaningless and not important, actually you don't tend to hear that stuff. Eventually you just get the energy vibration. Now, also I would say some of the 12-step meetings are more powerful than others. It just depends on who the constituents are of that particular meeting, and whether they've done a lot of spiritual work, so that can be a shift if it's your first time into a meeting. But I tend to go to those meetings which I feel have a very good spiritual vibration and benefit. And also another reason why I go is, apart from, it's an insurance, because I did have addiction, so it's good to be in that energy vibration of transcendence of addiction and the reminder to let it go. But also, it is also a pathway, even though I am dedicated to the pathway of the mystic, the 12 steps is basically a pathway of selfless service. So I enjoy it. It feels intuitive to... it's a different pathway to God, just to help others on a continual basis. So even though that's not my thing, I mean, I do that, but my focus is on the pathway of the mystic. But I do spend time regularly helping others as an act of service. So even though it's not my pathway to God, I do that as well. But I think, God's not going to be unhappy doing two pathways at the same time. But it's not my calling to just only do selfless service. My calling is the mystic, to release the ego to God. That's my calling. But it's something that also is I think it's a great thing to have as an additional bowstring. One is doing the pathway of the mystic and also doing service at the same time on a different level, even though it's not my focus. That is like something that just unconsciously happens. I just help people in active addiction, but I don't really... It takes up no mental space. If you like, the mental space is in just clearing my ego to be in the eternal now in every moment. that stuff happens very naturally without any effort. So another thing is that if you expose yourself to the highest vibration you can on a daily basis, for me it helps to clean out. It has a very, very powerful effect. Just being in a high, even to be for 1 hour in the highest vibration environment you can be on a daily basis would have a very strong impact on one's capacity to reach higher levels. And even if one was at a higher level, still being in the highest vibration environment, let's say one was vibrating at a higher vibration, in order to protect that high vibration, it will still be good to be in even a vibration as close to that vibration as possible, rather than to be in a very low vibration, because there would be the potential to get dragged down to the lower, in the lower vibrations, dishonesty, gossiping, holding on to stuff, victimhood, various concepts are held. Whereas in a 12-step group, it's more about letting go. Even though the ego eye is real, it's about letting that go, praying to God to let all that stuff go. So that's more useful to support a non-dual or enlightened perspective. You don't hook into it, but the energy is more supportive than a place where everyone's gossiping and taking drugs every day, you see. So so there's many reasons why I go, and it just feels intuitively the right thing in this for me. So that was a great question that was asked by one of the members, and that's the answer.